afternoon, Mediation Institute attendees. My name is Jennifer Mickel, and I'm the director of the ABA section of Dispute Resolution. We hope you've enjoyed today's programming and are excited for you to meet with each other shortly. But before we gather, we want to take the time out today to recognize and honor a true visionary in the field. Every year, the section determines the Cooley Lawyer as Problem Solver Award honoree. This award, named after Jack Cooley, recognizes a professional, like Jack, whose life work embodies the use of collaboration, negotiation, mediation, and problem-solving skills. I'm thrilled to share with you that this year's recipient is past section chair and founding director of the Kukin Program for Conflict Resolution at Cardozo School of Law, Lela Love. As many of us know, Lela truly embodies all aspects of this award. The section asked Robin Weinstein, director of Cardozo Mediation Clinic, to share more about Lela with the group. Robin?
Hi, everyone. My name is Robin Weinstein. I am honored to introduce Professor Lela Love as the recipient of the 2024 Lawyer as Problem Solver Award. I give this introduction in my role as co-chair of the Legal Educators in Dispute Resolution Committee, but in full disclosure, I am privileged to introduce Professor Love as one of her former students and as a friend. In 1985, Professor Love founded the Mediation Clinic at Cardozo Law School. At the time, it was one of the country's first clinical programs to train law students to serve as mediators. Since this time, the clinic has served as a national and international model for law school mediation clinics. In 1990, she founded the Kukin Program for Conflict Resolution at Cardozo, which today is now home to 4 dispute resolution clinics, an LLM program in dispute resolution and advocacy, a certificate program in dispute resolution for JD students, a top-ranked scholarly journal in conflict resolution, a competition honor society, and an active student-led dispute resolution society. She has built truly a temple and learning environment for students to engage in dispute resolution unlike any other. When founding the program, Professor Love wrote that its mission was to develop modern-day problem solvers who can skillfully use dispute resolution processes to the benefits of their clients and society. Her former students and mentees now are leaders in dispute resolution organizations. They serve in leadership positions in federal and state agencies and in courts. They also work as local leaders in community mediation centers and teach dispute resolution around the world. When describing the impact of Professor Love on his career, one of her former students, Brian Farkas, said, "Lela taught me not to let other people's ideas of how lawyers should act define you. The best lawyers are those that can use their middle voice rather than their gladiator voice." Professor Love is also a prolific scholar. She has written multiple textbooks and articles on mediation and dispute resolution. Her 1996 article, written with Kim Kovac, it's called Evaluative Mediation is an Oxymoron, was published by CPR and today it is one of the top 10 most downloaded articles in the organization's history. Her publications and books and the mediator training manual she co-wrote with Professor Josh Stolberg are used in mediator training programs and classrooms around the world. In an effort to raise public awareness about mediation processes, she developed a global project using the power of storytelling and published 2 books, Stories Mediators Tell and Stories Mediators Tell World Edition, which has hosted countless storytelling events around the globe in connection with the books. Professor Love is also past chair of the ABA section of dispute resolution, and as we know, this is the largest dispute resolution organization in the world. In her year as chair, she initiated the first International Mediation Leadership Summit at The Hague. And at Cardozo, she has worked with students at the Journal of Conflict Resolution to develop the International Advocate for Peace Award, which has served as a vehicle to honor notable peacemakers, including Presidents Bill Clinton and Jimmy Carter, Abigail Disney, Paul McCartney, and so many more. Professor Love's creativity and problem solving is boundless. She embodies the spirit of lawyer as problem solver, and when she sees a problem, she steps forward to act. Her leadership and life's work has inspired generations of lawyers to think beyond adversarial norms and to value the wise decision-making that can be achieved with a problem-solving approach. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Professor Love.
It is with great humility that I accept an award that was created to honor the legacy of John Cooley. I knew him as Jack Cooley. He was a friend. He was kind. He was generous. He was creative. And he was a fabulous lawyer and mediator and arbitrator and professor. He had so many talents. He went to West Point. He was a jazz musician. And he brought jazz into how to be creative as a problem solver. I had the great good fortune of co-authoring with him. We wrote an article about midstream mediator evaluations and getting an informed consent for that. I can't tell you what a great partner he was. It was just fun to work with him. So a few remarks about the lawyer as problem solver. When I first started my career in law school, which is a little while ago now, I remember talking to the then a dean at Cardozo trying to get permission to do a 24-hour mediator training, which of course is about how to spark listening and creativity into parties in conflict. And the dean said to me, well, how long would this be? And I said, 24-hour training, over several days. He said, 24 hours? Are you kidding me? What could you possibly say about mediation taking that long? You wouldn't have anything to say after the first hour. And I went, what? 24 hours isn't nearly enough for this topic, but it was just a very good introduction to sort of the intersection of law school and creativity and mediation. Now, of course, most law schools teach negotiation and mediation as well, at least as part of an overview of disputing processes. We're here at the ABA. One of the pinnacles of my career, and this pertains to the lawyer as problem solver, I think, was a gathering at the Peace Palace at The Hague, International Mediation Leadership Summit. And the ABA was so instrumental in pulling that together. And it was like, my goodness, there were people all over the world focusing on the lawyer as problem solver, as bringing parties to mediation, as being mediators. And it created this community of people that I'd say Jack Cooley embodied in many ways. But then it was like passing on a baton to a new generation of international creative problem solvers. I don't know how many of you all at this gathering have been involved in the ICC mediation competition, which is this year, it's its 20th year. I mention it because one point in my career when this thing started, I thought, my goodness, they're honoring law students for being good listeners, for being good partners, working well with their other lawyers and with the mediator and with their counterpart, and being culturally sensitive and being articulate in being creative problem solvers, people who came up with good ideas, advanced in this competition. And I thought, it's a whole new era that we're honoring creative problem solvers. And so you can understand how excited I am, not only to follow in the footsteps of Jack Cooley, but to be part of what I see as a movement in the legal field to embrace not only the skills, important skills of litigators, but the most important skills too of communication and creativity and flexibility that are so important. I was thinking before we had the mics on, what's an example of creative problem solving? So what came to mind was a mediation a long, long time ago at a community center where a downstairs neighbor, frustrated by noise, whammed on the door of his upstairs neighbor and broke the door. And so the upstairs neighbor did not have an intact door, and the mediation was all about how much the door costs, and the party owing money had no money, and so forth and so on. And then somebody came up with the idea, it wasn't the mediator, because the mediator didn't see this building. Hey, why don't we just swap doors? The guy who had broken the door had an intact door. He'd give his door to the upstairs guy, and the upstairs guy didn't mind. The downstairs guy didn't mind a broken door. You know, he was a carpenter or something. But I mean, there are millions of examples. I remember Desmond Tutu. I'm speaking from New Hampshire, and he was up here speaking at Exeter School one year, said, there are no intractable problems. And Tutu was speaking from the perspective of being in South Africa, a situation that was stuck for so long. And he believed everything was solvable, something I believe Jack Cooley would endorse. So Jack would talk about jazz. I'm going to take 1 minute, Jennifer, I promise 1 minute to talk about horses. So Carol Liebman, a terrific professor of dispute resolution, challenged me one year to bring horses into a training for law school mediator professors because she wanted to show the Kentucky Derby to the group. And I thought, horses. Now, I know something about horses. So I said, okay. And so I'm going to end with this story. Here's what I thought of. The presentation we were giving was to teachers. And I had a great teacher in the horse world, great teacher, a guy named George Morris. And I had gone down to a horse event, very competitive, big, fancy horse event where I was competing on a good horse. I hadn't had time to warm up because they didn't want me to warm up. They wanted the horse to be fresh. And I was really, really nervous. The way I think a lot of mediators are confronted with difficult, challenging, stuck situations. I was so nervous. My leg was shaking on this horse. And the good teacher who didn't notice this, or maybe he did, I don't know. He put his hand on my leg and he said, Lela, if you want to win, go very, very fast. Now I was thinking, I don't want to die, you know, I'm going to go steady and slow. And here was this rider of the universe telling me, go very, very fast. And at that moment, the end gate lifted and it was my turn to go. The clock started, you know. So I did. And there were like lots of horses in this event, 70 some horses. And I was in the top 3 at the end. That's amazing. That's unheard of. Why? Because I was given this confidence, this advice of an amazing teacher who thought I could go very, very fast and who thought so much was possible. And we look at Desmond Tutu, no intractable problems. John Lennon, there are no problems, only solutions. You know, there are all these examples of we can do it if we have, you know, the confidence, the creativity. Jack Cooley had jazz. I've got horses. I think, you know, we're either evolving or devolving. It sort of seems like right now we look around the world, we're devolving. We've got to take it back up. We've got to go to evolving. We've got to go very, very fast. Boy, these hurricanes and stuff are bad. So anyway, lawyer is problem solving. I'm sure I'm speaking to some of the best problem solvers out there in this event. And so I will just echo George Morris, go very, very fast. We can do it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lela. You're such an inspiration to so many of us. Congratulations.
Thank you.